hit that button. And we're live here on Facebook. I'd like to welcome those listening in podcast land. And also, my buddy Rich. Rich, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mike, and also welcome to the folks watching us on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
As well. Wherever you happen to be watching us, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you leave a comment on our Facebook Live video here, we'll make sure to give you a shout out. As long as it's an appropriate comment that we can share.
Yeah.
On the air. So, Mike, it's a Friday show because we're going to be doing a Friday show next week as well. So, Mike, what do you got going on Saturday?
We're going up to Minneapolis. There's actually a YouTuber at a fish YouTuber that a friend of mine is really into and I'm into, and he's doing a meet and greet. Normally he lives in Seattle, but he's coming out to Minneapolis for the day to do a meet and greet. So we're going to go meet him and then get to go to a place called QC Pizza. Hopefully a taste of home.
Hopefully.
And then next week you got stuff going on.
Yeah, next week I'll be going to the Iron Sharpens Iron conference when they do their as that's coming into Davenport at Coram Deo.
Nice. Well, enjoy
next week.
That's always a fun time. Yeah, looking forward to it. Okay. So Rich, we got a big show this week. It's still more football moves. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
Quarterbacks falling all over the place. And then on top of it, we have ended the lockout and we are 2 weeks away from baseball. You ready for that?
I sure am. So this week we'll be looking at post-lockout transactions or just what teams did in the offseason to just improve. We'll probably give you one or two teams apiece on which teams we thought improved the most going into the season, as well as taking a look at our favorite team, the Chicago Cubs, a little bit more in depth.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Good, bad, or ugly. We're going to be giving a week on how they did every week once the season starts.
Yep.
And as always, we'll be going into the NASCAR Corner presented by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated in Moline, Illinois. And we'll be taking a look at the NCAA tournament, giving you guys an update on our tournament pick'em group, as well as maybe talking about the surprise teams that have made it into the Elite Eight so far.
History being made, folks. But first, yes. Rich, what's it time to do?
Mike, it's time to roll that intro.
Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa, this is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich. Okay, we're back. So, folks, before we do anything, the first thing we do every week, we do a poll question. Rich, this week's poll question, we started 2 weeks ago our sports song tournament. This week we saw I Love LA and New York, New York named as this week's tournament. Rich, how did you vote and why?
I voted for New York, New York. Growing up, how many World Series titles did the New York Yankees win while we were in high school? And
so sick of that song.
And yeah, to where you heard that song so often being talked about in the post-game conferences while they were wrapping up the games before they went to the winter, as the Yankees were winning all those World Series titles with Joe Torre and Derek Jeter.
Derek Cheater?
Cheater?
Derek
Jeter didn't quit. Derek Jeter didn't cheat.
Steroids.
That was Alex Rodriguez.
You sure he did? You sure Derek didn't use any? No, you can't say it.
Yeah,
everybody was using them back then. Anyway, but either way.
I don't think he did.
Either way.
But that's why I voted for New York, New York. I think, as you've seen, LA and the Dodgers doing so well, you're starting to hear I love LA a lot in the postseason, just like you did New York, New York. But so I went with the one that I liked better.
Yep, I don't blame you there. I picked I Love L.A. As much as anything because it's a tongue-in-cheek song about how terrible L.A. is, while at the same time everybody uses it to say that they love L.A. Just a little fun there. But no, I'm excited. This week we have 3 songs going against each other.
So, Mike, who won this week, Mike?
Oh, yeah. So it was I Love L.A. 4-3.
4-3. All right. So 7 votes. We're picking up. We're at least getting more voters. So this week we're gonna go 3 songs.
Yep.
We're gonna go Cleveland Rocks, which typically gets played after the Cleveland Indians, the Cleveland baseball team, the Cleveland Guardians, when they win ball games. I'm shipping out to Boston. Played at a lot of Boston sports events and also the University of Notre Dame. And Detroit Rock City, which is a song we're going to assume gets played at some Detroit sporting event. You'd imagine it would.
I mean, but that would require a Detroit team to win.
You would. It would.
That doesn't happen often.
No, at least you don't hear about it that much if it does. Well, so we're going to assume that it does. If
get they ever win
somewhere.
At a
right,
home
if
game.
They win. So it'll be a 3-way.
Yeah.
You'll get 3 songs to choose from this week. So I'll probably get that pull up shortly after we get off air, and it'll probably go live probably around 12 noon tomorrow, like all of the rest of our polls do.
You ready to go dancing, Rich?
I'm ready. I got my dancing shoes on. The NCAA tournament is still going on as we got Elite 8 matchups. Teams fighting, 2 more teams going into the Elite 8. So let's go ahead and give you a quick standings update in our Tourney Pick'em group. So I'll get that up real quick.
So, Rich, I am in first place.
Yes, you are. You did a great job, Mike. You have a chance to get a possible 79 points.
Yeah, I need some things to fall into perfect place, but
yeah. Currently in second place is Alicia with 50 points. Although she is maxed out, she cannot get any more points.
Yeah.
Mark is in third place with 47 points.
And he has some great opportunity to get, like, he still has his national championship team in the running.
He does. So if he gets, basically it comes down to whether Houston can win or not.
Yeah, Houston needs to win. Needs to lose tomorrow.
If Houston and UCLA win, I think he passes you.
Yeah, he does. So I need Houston to lose tomorrow, and I need UCLA to lose tonight.
Yeah. My wife Amy is currently in fourth place with 40 points. I'm in fifth with 39 points. The only teams that I have alive are UCLA and Kansas, and I can top out at 51 points.
So you can't even beat me.
No, I can't beat you. The best I can do is probably second place, and that's if UCLA and Kansas win the rest of their games as far as I have them going. And Pastor David is in last place, although he still has some points on the board as well, as he has Kansas that can still get him some points.
Yep. So
but that's it. Kansas is his last hope to get some points.
Yep. As of right now, I am guaranteed at least second. So that's kind of nice, being guaranteed at least second. So.
All right, so Mike, probably the biggest surprise of the Elite Eight, the St. Peter's Peacocks.
Yeah, they're still dancing.
They're still going.
They are still going. They are in the Elite Eight. Rich, how often has that happened?
It's never happened before. A number 15 seed has never gotten this far in the tournament.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And who do they got to face?
They are facing they will face the winner of UCLA North Carolina. So let's hopefully North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. I mean, I don't think probably we've had this big of a Cinderella going into the Final Four since what? Probably Loyola or Valparaiso?
I mean, we're guaranteed 2 double-digit teams into the Elite Eight. Iowa State and Miami of Florida are both double-digit teams. We already have St. Peter's in the Elite Eight. So, minimum, those 2 teams will make it to the Elite Eight. Or one of those 3 teams, or 2 of those 3 teams will make it to the Elite Eight. That's cray-cray. Let's go Let's go to North Carolina.
I mean, there's even a chance that a number 1 seed, a number that no teams ranked in 1, 2, or 3 could even make it into the Final Four.
Yeah.
At this point, if Kansas doesn't
Duke?
win. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that you're right. Duke is
and Villanova.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't know. I forget about them. I know I eliminated them very early on in my bracket. So
I have them in the Final Four. So I need Villanova to make it all the way to the Final Four. That will nearly. I actually have them in the finals. But if Villanova makes the Final Four, that will nearly clinch me for my bracket to win.
Mm.
So
the Big Ten, is now out of the tournament. Did they make it? I don't even think did any of their teams make it.
Purdue made it to the Sweet 16.
Purdue made it to the Sweet 16.
That's it. Oh wait, Michigan too.
Michigan, yeah.
Yeah, Michigan. So Michigan and
but,
so. Yeah.
But they put, 8 teams into the tournament this year, and 2 of them make it this far.
I don't know how you trust the Big Ten ever. I always preach it. You can ask. I mean, you listen to what I say, not what I do. I always say that the Big Ten is your worst bet in the NCAA tournaments. They tend to fall on their face during the NCAA tournament. And I always I had Wisconsin making the Final Four.
Yeah, I think I know I took at least Iowa and Illinois into the Sweet 16. I had them stopping there, but I think this year was kind of like this is the last time I'm not going to take the Big Ten schools as far into the tournament as I have in the past.
Yeah, I did not have Illinois or Iowa past the second round. But yeah, I mean, it's sad to see the Big Ten do so poorly. Good to see Iowa State doing well tonight. And come on, North Carolina, you can do this. That game to me feels like an old school game. North Carolina versus UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me that's not like classic 80s, late 80s, early 90s tournaments.
Oh yeah, I mean, North Carolina for me is kind of like that one program that I always have. That's I probably take them further in the tournament than maybe they deserve to be, because I don't know if it's because of that's where Michael Jordan goes.
Yeah.
And they've always had a good coaching staff with Dean Smith and Roy Williams.
Yeah.
That I always kind of give them the edge on that. And even like in the 90s teams, you remember the team.
Oh, yeah.
Like Rasheed Wallace, Vince Carter.
Yeah.
And Vince Carter.
I'm not. Yeah, I don't blame you. North Carolina is one of those teams that, and UCLA. I mean, those teams are classic blue blood teams. And honestly, they're really the only classic blue bloods left. Well, Kansas. Sorry, Kansas.
No, you got Duke. Duke is a program that is always there every single year. And I'm almost starting to think that
Nova.
No, that Duke. Yeah, Villanova's been a good program overall.
Yep.
I'm almost starting to wonder. I mean, is Duke playing with like that chip on their shoulder as they want to send Coach K out a winner?
I hope. At this point, That's what I want to happen. Like the Zags are out now, so I don't care. I have family in Arkansas, so I kind of celebrate them. But no, I want Duke to go. I want Duke to win. Send Coach K out a winner. I mean, that guy's awesome.
Yeah. So both of our national championships are out. So that'll probably be so once we know who those final four teams are, we'll probably have to make a new predictions. I think the final four games will go on Saturday, and then they take a break. They do a Saturday Monday.
Yep.
Don't they? Or is it a Friday Saturday?
So they do Saturday. There's games Saturday Sunday this week for the Elite Eight, and then they skip, and I think they do Friday. A game Friday, a game Saturday, no game Sunday, and then a game Monday, I want to say. But I'm not 100% sure.
Well, let's see if the bracket tells us real quick. No.
Oh, April 4th is the... Yeah, so April 2nd, both teams play, so that's next Saturday. And
okay, so you have both games on Saturday,
and then
they get a day of rest to recoup and game plan for the national championship on Monday.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, we can give you our updated pick to win next week.
Yep.
And once we know the teams that are going to be going down to New Orleans to play at the Superdome.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. So do you see what's coming up next?
Is it a left turn, Rich?
It is a left turn, Mike. What's after that?
It's another left turn because we're heading into the NASCAR Corner, presented by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois. Check them out on 5th Avenue in person or online on their eBay store. Once again, that's Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. So heading into the NASCAR
this week, Mike, there might be a couple of right turns.
We're
going on the road course.
Oh yeah, I forgot. We're going into a road course. That'll make it even more fun. Let's head to Coda. But first, we got to tell you what happened in the new Atlanta. Did you get to watch it?
I did. I actually watched the entire race, no NASCAR nap. So it was kind of exciting.
It was
to see.
I think that it has some of the excitement of the super speedway with less of the dullness. I think it was a good hybrid of super speedway and mixing it up a little bit. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was a good race. It was a good race. You had the feel that there was still some rank and filing along, being in, but there still was opportunities on that track where they could go 3 and 4 wide to see if they could advance on the field.
Yep.
So our Joe, our guest picker, picked Kyle Larson. He picked it as 31st because of a wreck. My picker, Ryan Blaney, finished 18th after he kind of got wrecked a little bit trying to make a late race pass on the final lap. And Mike, which allowed your pick of Brad Keselowski, who was kind of in the middle of the pack the entire race, to finish 13th and pick up your third straight win, giving you a 3-2 advantage, as neither of us picked the race winner, which was William Byron.
Yeah, great to watch the race. Fun. It was a fun race. I'm excited to see more stuff at Atlanta. This week we are heading in to see the Eco Park Automotive Grand Prix at Coda Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Rich, who you like on this? Do you got any advice for those playing along with us? Other than make sure you get your bonus points in, because I forgot to do that last week.
Yeah, get your bonus picks in. I would say lean very heavily into your road course guys. You got an opportunity this week to use, maybe even to get some guys that you're only going to see racing on the road courses. Somebody like AJ Allmendinger, Boris Said is going to be racing as a independent racer. on the course today. So if you're looking to save uses, I'd highly recommend going after putting the dinger into your lineup. But you can look at some. Look at even the race history last year of how well teams did, and just in general how well guys do on the road courses. So guys like Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, and of course Chase Elliott, and even Chase Biscoe, who's already got one win on under his belt this week.
Yeah,
this year.
he's locked into the to the playoffs, so he doesn't have much to lose. Might as well go for that extra win, do something special there. Look for him to be a great choice. I like the pick of Daniel Suarez this week.
Suarez
as a sleeper pick. Here's why: as an international racer, he does not. His history is not strictly NASCAR style oval tracks. He's got history elsewhere. So.
All right, yeah, I like that as a sleeper or a way to kind of stock your lineup with an unexpected guy, because anything can happen on one of those road courses.
Yep.
As it's not as even somebody that's usually pretty good on the road courses. Martin Truex Jr. I think finished in the 30s last year.
Yeah.
Just because wrecks happen, or just pit strategies sometimes don't always work out on the road courses.
So, Rich, this week's race, we saw you this last week's race in Atlanta. We saw you taking first place, Funkhouse taking second, Easers taking third, Dupo fourth, and I'm in a distant fifth because I might have forgotten to put in my bonus picks.
Yeah. So where are the overall standings at, Mike?
So Funkhouse is in the lead with 861. You took second with 849. Dupo is right behind you at 844. Easers is at 816, and I'm 106 points behind him. Womp.
All right, Mike. Well, Mike, let's hope that you can pick up some points and start to close that gap as we go to COTA. So, Mike, Brad Keselowski having the highest finish between the two of us, you get the pick. Who's your race winner?
Chase Elliott. How are you going to go against him at a road course after what we've seen him do the last 3 years?
Yeah, that's who my pick is. That's who I think is still going to win the race.
Yeah,
but I can't pick him, so I'll go with AJ Allmendinger.
Okay,
he's usually a pretty good road racer. Kaulig Racing has him dialed up to race all the road courses this year, and he also won the Indy road course as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with AJ Allmendinger, but obviously, when the question being who's going to finish higher, Elliott or Allmendinger on the fantasy app, I'm still going to go Elliott, even though for our show purposes, I want Allmendinger to finish higher.
Rich, anything else in the NASCAR corner before we head out?
Not really. I'm good.
Okay, this has been the NASCAR Corner presented by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois, 5th Avenue. Check them out at their store at 5th Avenue in Moline or online on their eBay store for all your sports memorabilia needs. Once again, that's Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. Okay, let's keep making left turns as we talk about the MLB preseason, post-lockout transactions, and some new rules we got to talk about. Plus, we have some we're going to give you a couple teams to look at this year pretty heavily, and we have a manager making a bold statement.
Ooh,
yeah. Apparently, you didn't see it yet. Okay, good. I'm excited to give you that one. Let's start with new rules you need to know in the major leagues. So we have a rule that if it would have been made 100 years ago, it'd be probably about 100 years ago, we'd call it the Babe Ruth rule. But it wasn't made 100 years ago. It was made this year. So what are we calling it, Rich?
We're calling it the Ohtani Rule.
Yeah.
And that is based in quotations, Ohtani Rule. And it says that if a starting pitcher is designated as that team's DH, then he'll be allowed to remain in the game as a hitter once their day on the mound has ended.
Yeah.
So
you like that?
Using Shohei Ohtani, I do.
Okay.
So using Ohtani as an example, and any other two-way talents won't have to throw 9 innings in order to take their at-bats in the 9th inning and beyond. Or for that matter, within 5 innings or 6 innings. As I mean, any more of these pitchers any more of these teams have them on pitch counts and
Yep.
analytical thinking that they're not going to let them go three times through the batting order.
Yep. So we have other things to look at, and we'll get to the we'll get to something, and I have some opinions on the first thing that they're talking about in this article you put in here. But let's go to the third thing, and the Ghost Runner's back for postseason or for extra innings. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well,
by the way,
it was odd.
Something that's not back is short double headers.
No, that they are going to keep it. It sounds like from what I heard, I could have swore that this was the players. This was a player idea to put this back into play due to having a shortened spring training and not wanting to have extended games.
Yeah.
And out of all people that I heard maybe defending this, it was kind of odd. I was watching a spring training game on Wednesday. Pat Hughes and Jim Deshaies in the booth. And Pat Hughes, of all people, was saying, you know what? It's not as bad as an idea. It's growing on me.
Okay.
Because it is nice not to be at the ballpark for extended.
Pat Hughes is getting old, though.
He is.
So one thing that's not on here, we've already discussed it though. Universal DH.
Yeah, that's going into effect. We knew that when the
I mean, we've talked about it already.
CBA got involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you had to be stuck with one, the expanded DH or the Ghost Runner, one of them was going to be permanent no matter what. Which one would you, I guess, more tolerate?
Short and double headers? I actually would prefer short and double headers over either of those two rules. But if I only get the choice of the two, I'd take a Ghost Runner over Universal DH. I'm that get off my lawn guy, though. Only when it comes to baseball. Football, we can change everything. In fact, we're going to talk about that soon enough.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. We'll get to there. There is some, they are going to take some overtime changes to a owner's vote.
We're going to talk about that.
24 out of 32.
We'll talk about that later.
More on that later.
How about you? Designated hitter or automatic base runner on second after 9?
I think I'm okay with having a universal DH. You knew it was gonna come.
Rich,
there's less.
You call yourself a National League fan.
I know, but I mean, how many times? I mean, I like that that you still have the chess match of the games of when to do a double switch and can I afford to keep my pitcher in the game, even though I'm down a run and I need a run.
Yeah.
Or there's bases loaded and my guy can go another inning, but we could really use those runs.
Okay. So now the last rule that is in this article that you shared, expanded rosters until May 2nd. Now, this goes hand in hand with the biggest argument involved in this CBA. The arbitration, because you didn't get called up before 2 weeks into the season. Because they've kind of relinquished some of that the arbitration rules there and how to make it so that it's more fair. Makes sense to have expanded rosters, right? Because now it doesn't hurt you as bad to bring the guy up. I mean, bringing the guy up is going to hurt you no matter when you bring him up. Not quite no matter when, but with the way that it works and the way that the rules work, the way that they changed some of the CBA rules on arbitration, expanding the roster early in the season is less harmful for the teams.
Yeah, I don't see this being permanent. I think it's just going to be this year, as they had a shortened spring training. So there's a chance that you might not have a guy, you might not go with a four-man, you might not be able to use a starting pitcher on a normal rotation schedule because he might not be finished being stretched out yet. Or you could see even big name starting pitchers go less innings because they didn't have proper time to get stretched out. So it could be important to have those extra two guys down in the bullpen.
Yeah.
That you need to
Yep.
help out the pitching staff overall.
Yep.
To get you through a 9-inning game the first month.
So, with that, let's head over to the other article we have in here, and that is looking at roster changes that we've had so far. Some of the big ones. How about the latest? How about Trevor Story being signed by Boston? That's a pretty big deal.
It is. I like the deal.
Yeah,
him. I mean, he was that they really. I think the Trevor Story deal gives him some good opportunity. There's chances where he could opt out if the deal, if he does well and kind of rebounds from kind of gets rid of that stigma that he was only a good hitter because he played half his games in Denver.
Yep.
But also it gives them a chance to where they have a shortstop on their roster if Xander Bogaerts opts out and leaves his contract. Carlos Correa goes over to Minnesota now.
Yeah.
So he's on a short-term 3-year deal, which has a bunch of opt-outs.
By the way, one of these, I don't know if it's going to be, I don't think we're going to be able to make it happen this year, but next year, and I think next year is the right year to do it, because isn't next year the year that the Cubs play the Twins?
With the league's kind of more balanced schedule.
Oh yeah.
The Cubs would go up to Minnesota every other year.
Yep.
To face the Twins.
So I hope that means next year they come up to Minnesota. If so, next year you guys got to come up here. If we go as a group, we can go as a group. If it's just you and I going up there, or if it's you and I going to the game and your wife and my wife going to the Mall of America all day. Wait, my budget can't afford that. We'll bring the women. We'll bring our wives to the game. How about that?
Yeah. So former Cubs signing in new places. Jorge Soler.
Yeah.
Where is
down in Miami?
Nick Castellanos and Kyle Schwarber go to Philly.
Yeah.
Anthony Rizzo stays with New York.
Yeah.
And Chris Bryant goes out to Denver.
Are you okay with all of those guys signing away from Chicago? Did you want any of them back?
You know, with the DH coming into play, I thought that I kind of would have liked to have seen Rizzo get the comeback. And
I'm surprised.
It's kind of
for you. I thought you were going to say someone else with the DH. I thought you wanted to see Schwarber smash back in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, and really the big move that the Cubs made out of all this was signing Japanese star Seiya Suzuki.
Yeah,
and they were comparing that supposedly the contract that they gave Suzuki, 5 years, $30 million, I think it was a similar
5 year,
deal
$85 million.
I'm sorry?
5 year, $85 million.
Yeah, that supposedly was the same terms that they gave to Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah.
And he chose to reject them, and he instead goes back to He goes back to New York
Yeah.
on like a 3-year deal, but he gets the option to opt out
Yep.
if he rebounds.
Yeah. Um, if Freddie Freeman signing with the Dodgers. 6
That
years.
really surprised me. I thought the Braves
162.
would have. I would have thought that the Braves would have done would have opened up the checkbook to bring him back. But they did have a
Go ahead.
They had a contingency plan though, as they traded for A's first baseman Matt Olson and then signed him to a huge extension.
Yeah. So the Dodgers have really made a play in the last almost 5 years, if not 10 years, that if you beat them in the playoffs, they're going to take your best player and sign him. And Freddie Freeman is the latest profiteer from that. I wouldn't say he's the loser,
sure.
but the Braves are the latest loser from that. But I got no problems with that. But Andrew Chafin making it up to Detroit. Speaking of former Cubs.
Yeah, Andrew Chafin, and that's where Javi Baez is. So he'll join Baez up in Detroit. But Baez signed before the deadline. So before we talk about the Cubs, who's maybe like one team in the AL, one team in the NL that you thought made some great moves that'll help them this year?
Man, the moves they made, I like what the Twins are doing, but again, I don't trust the Twins anymore.
I know the Twins did make some good moves. They got Sonny Gray from the Reds, Carlos Correa, like we talked about, and they made a trade with the Yankees as well. It was Gio Urshela and Gary Sanchez.
They made some great moves, but can you trust them to do something with all of that? I mean, you hope they would.
Well, yeah, the White Sox are going to be tough to beat this year, though.
Oh yeah,
they've got a.
And they did great too.
Be the team to beat in the Central.
Yeah.
For my kind of maybe my AL team that I kind of like the moves that they made, will probably have to be Toronto.
Ooh, that's a good
Toronto,
call.
they got Matt Chapman from the A's, so they also, much like the Braves, they benefited from the A's going into a rebuild mode, and I think Olson's a lot better player than Chapman. I'm sorry, Chapman was a better player than Marcus Semien, who they lost in free agency.
Yep.
To Texas, and they signed away the Giants ace Kevin Groffman.
Yep.
To go up there, and they could also benefit from the vaccination rule that no player can play a home game, could play a road game in Toronto if they're unvaccinated. So maybe that takes into effect, gets them some extra wins as well.
Yeah. How about we add NL team that you think has made the biggest splash? Who you got?
I almost kind of like what the Phillies have done, signing Castellanos and Schwarber. So they had some good. That's going to help them score some runs, put some runs on the board, and obviously the DH helped them, because if there was no DH in the National League, they probably only could have signed one of those guys, not both of them.
Yeah, we just talked about the team that I think, and again, it's going to transition us into the next part before we talk about the Cubs. How about the Dodgers, man? That Freddie Freeman pickup is huge. Tell me now who on that team is. Are you looking at who is in the National League has something to go against the Dodgers? And when I say that, also here, because this is gonna, folks, you get to watch Rich's reaction to this statement. Speaking of the Dodgers, Dave Roberts was on the Dan Patrick Show this week.
All right, what did Mr. Roberts have to say?
Dan Patrick asked him, finish this sentence. the LA Dodgers will win the World Series if. And Dave Roberts said, if we play 162 games and have a postseason, we will win the World Series. Put it on record.
Yeah, they're going to be a tough team to beat. Really, the only guy that they maybe lost that's a big difference maker for them is Kenley Jansen.
Yeah.
Who signed with Atlanta, who I still think is probably their biggest threat to getting back to the World Series and probably and maybe even winning it.
Yeah, I like that. I'm not. I may be telegraphing my play already, but man, I like that Roberts' confidence, and B, I like that team.
Yeah. So kind of also on the lines of the Dodgers, did you see what former Dodger, former Brave, and now Giant Jock Peterson had to say about Major League payrolls?
No.
There was a Twitter that he put out posting the payrolls of the top teams like the Yankees, the Mets, and the Dodgers. And then he showed the payrolls of the three lowest teams. The Indians, the Orioles, and I think the A's.
Yeah.
And he said, I mean, looking at the big gap there is if you're a fan of that team, you should feel disrespected because their owners aren't putting a competitive team or spending money to put a competitive team on the field.
I don't disagree. I think he's right. I really do. I think he's probably 100% right. And Moneyball only works so far. Moneyball, how many times has Moneyball actually worked to win you a World Series and to make your team competitive?
Competitive, I mean, they've had some good teams, but they've gone out in the first round. Or they've been lucky to win the wild card and get into the playoffs.
Is the first round a competitive enough thing to say that Moneyball works?
No.
Okay.
You need to win a World Series.
So how many times have we seen a World Series win from Moneyball?
None.
Yeah. You can look like you're doing all right. But man, unless you are actively winning games at a high level, doesn't really mean much. So,
all right, Mike. So the Chicago Cubs probably gonna see. So their main signings this year, the two main guys that they got, noteworthy, Marcus Stroman, to go into the slot in as a good innings eater, but is probably not an ace anymore. He might have been when he was coming up with Toronto, but not anymore. And they signed Suzuki from Japan.
Yeah.
Is that a good enough? Do they have a good enough roster with who they have on the roster, who's probably going to make it up with the big league club from Arizona to be up there and maybe compete with the Cardinals and the Brewers this year? Because the Reds and the Pirates are obviously mailing it in with the way they've sold off or chosen not to spend this year.
Or
is it going to be third place?
I don't see anything but third place for the Cubs. Honestly, I don't. I'm wearing the jersey. You're wearing the hoodie. I love this team. I don't see him being competitive this year. Now, I think we're in a rebuild situation. That's why we have a player who's only been out of the league been out of catching for 2 years as our head coach or as our manager. So that leads to the question. Every year we bring this up, or I bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
Cubs over under. Do you have a guess
What
where?
is their
Do you have a guess where it's at? Because I know what it is. I already looked. I had a guess,
Okay.
and I was wrong. I was a little low.
I think their over/under would have to be set at probably at 68.
See, I was right there with you. I said 69 and a half. I said 69 and a half. We're both low.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are they projecting them to make it to?
75 and a half is their over under.
I'm gonna have to take the under. On
I
that.
take
I
the
don't
under
think
on
they're
it
gonna
too.
make it.
I think the Cubs actually benefit from being one of those teams that that bets come in on regularly. Every year you have people betting on the Cubs to do well, so I've said it multiple times. I think the Cubs over under is inflated. But with that being said, Cincinnati Reds, what do you think the over under is?
70.
74.
They're,
Yeah.
what,
Vegas Insider.
oh.
Now, we'll
Only
go
because I'm curious. What did they put Pittsburgh at?
65 and a half. I think that's pretty close.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I don't know that I would. That is one that if I went to a sports book right now and somebody said that the over under on Pittsburgh is 65 and a half, I am not making that bet. Cuz I think they're going to be right at that 65 and a half mark. So I would not make a bet on that one, either over or under, cuz I think it's going to be too close to a push to that 65 and a half. Let's finish out the Milwaukee. What do you got any guesses on them?
I'll go 89 for the Brew Crew.
That is an amazingly close guess. 88 and a half. And then
Okay.
the Cardinals are 85 and a half.
Yeah, I was just about to say 85 for them.
The highest in the National League. Do you have a guess on which team is the highest over under as of right now?
The Dodgers. Say the Dodgers. The Dodgers at 102.
No, nobody's over a 100.
Really?
Nobody has a over 100 over under.
Okay.
96.5 for the Dodgers. You were right. Number 2 is Atlanta with 90 and a half. But in the AL, we'll do 2 teams in the AL guaranteed, and then you'll give me. So who do you think has the highest over under in the AL?
Only because I think they overvalue them on wins. I'm going to go with the Yankees, but I also really I do think the Blue Jays should have a high over/under.
Rich, you are a genius. Those two are in a four-way tie for most wins. Do you have a guess at the other 2 teams?
I'm going to go the White Sox and
Yeah.
the Red Sox.
The White Sox are correct. The Red Sox are not. Houston.
Astros. Yeah. Okay.
91.5. So, and then finally, the Minnesota Twins. Do you have a guess on their over/under?
$81.
80.5.
Okay.
And I said 81 was probably my guess, but no, I really do like it. I think that I think the Cubs are a little high value on that. Cincinnati is a little high value. I take the under on both of those.
So did Major League Baseball maybe make the wrong decision in putting the Cubs and the Reds in the Field of Dreams games, as bad as both of these rosters are? Or does it really, at this point, with how new the experience is they could put the 2 worst teams in Major League Baseball there, and they're probably going to get the they're going to probably capture the national TV audience and get fans to come out to that game, no matter who they put in it at this point.
I think the Cubs draw is huge, especially in the Midwest. And no matter who's there, you're not going to have. I don't think you have the ratings that you do with the Yankees White Sox last year. It's the Yankees White Sox, same as the concept of the Field of Dreams game. And B, and more importantly, it was the first. But the Cubs are a national team. I mean, they are one of the top draws in the league. So folks, as we look forward, next week we are going to give you our prediction for our playoff teams. And then the following week we're going to give you our league championship. 2 days after the season starts, we're going to give you our league championships and our World Series predictions. And then the following week, we're going to give you our winner of the World Series. We're going to do that. Okay. We're going to do that. We'll draw it out to 3 weeks because that'll spark some conversation there.
Okay.
So we are at 51 minutes. I don't know if you need to go to bed sooner rather than later. I'm okay for a little while.
We can do a quick NFL talk because more news came out.
Yeah, lots of stuff has happened with the NFL this week. How about we start? You don't even have it on here. Deshaun Watson signed.
We talked about Deshaun Watson last week.
I thought that happened. I thought there was
trade.
Did the trade happen last week?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It became official this week, but yeah. Wow, that's huge. Then that has sparked some controversy.
It certainly has. As his salary for this year, $1 million.
I mean, yeah. Nothing. The league can either suspend him for the games and he loses maybe $1 million this year, but then gets heavy loaded afterwards.
And it's fully guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
Fully guaranteed.
Or they don't do anything, and that's wrong too. But the other side of that is Baker Mayfield wants out.
He wanted out before the trade was official.
Yeah.
He didn't like that the team didn't talk to him about that. Hey, we're gonna talk to Watson to see if he'd be interested in coming in here. We want to let you know that we're going to engage in talks with him, which is what the Falcons did with Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
So now the Browns have Deshaun Watson. What do they do with Baker Mayfield? Because they did sign Jacoby Brissett to be the backup quarterback.
I mean, you need a starter for this year. Like you're setting up Deshaun to not play this year. You need a backup, so that's why you signed Brissett, and you need a starter. You're gonna let Mayfield start this year. Mayfield's gonna be your starter unless the league decides not to do anything about Deshaun. That's what's
Watson. So do you think the Browns should keep Mayfield regardless of what the suspension is? Because following the precedents of what they did with Roethlisberger, which was 6 games.
Yep.
You keep Mayfield and tell him, you know what, the job's yours until Watson gets back.
I think you have to.
Or do you look to trade him to taking the best offer you can get, even though there aren't too many unsettled quarterback situations right now?
There's 2 quarterback
That's the only
openings.
2 I can come up with.
Yeah, that's what I agree.
And the Seahawks.
I agree. There's only 2, and if there's only 2, and I would agree that's kind of where we're at right now. Mayfield's price goes up, and B, Do you think Brissett is a starter if Deshaun is out 6 weeks? And if they throw the book at him and give him a whole year? Who do you have for a backup then?
Yeah, I don't think I'd want it. If I knew for sure that Watson was going to be suspended the entire year, by all means they should keep Mayfield and just suck it up and tell them, you know what, no matter how good or bad you do, we're not going to renew your 5-year deal. So use this as an opportunity to show that you're still an NFL starting caliber quarterback, and prove us wrong of why we traded the farm to get Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Instead of investing in you. Prove us wrong and play with a chip on your shoulder for the entire year.
Yeah.
Or if anything, for those 6 games until Deshaun Watson gets back.
Yep. I don't think that it's I think you got to keep Baker. I don't think you can let him go because A, you don't have a guarantee. B, I mean honestly, if they are they stupid enough to think they're going to be able to play Deshaun week 1? Probably not.
No. I think
they knew what they were getting into. That's why they restructured the deal so that this year it's only worth $1 million. They know what the league's going to do, and the league's going to come out. I think the league's going to come out, give them a full 1-year suspension. Here's why. Listen to my concept here. So you compared it to Ben Roethlisberger. How many people accused Ben Roethlisberger?
1.
Okay. Multiply that by 28. Now, the league's gonna, or the Players Association, if you multiplied the penalty by 28, is gonna step in and say no. So they've already, I guarantee you, they've already talked to the Players Association reps. They've talked to Cleveland. They said, this is what we're doing. And Cleveland is now ready. They've set themselves up to, okay, Deshaun's out for the year. He's suspended this year. And then next year, and that's why they won't trade Baker. Because they know what's happening. Baker's keeping him. Baker's around this year. And he's the starting quarterback this year. That's why the deal is what it is. That's why Deshaun agreed to it, because they sat him down and said, hey, man, you just got to take this. We're going to do it for 1 year. We're guaranteeing you the rest of the money. The league gets to look pretty because they get to do what they say. They get to uphold the fact that they're punishing you. We get you next year. All's well that ends well. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I can probably agree with that. I think that's probably where it's going to be. Because, I mean,
and
in the other places where you...
I'll ask you, do you want anybody other than Baker? Do you want Baker as your starting quarterback for the year? In that case.
In that case, yes.
Okay.
Because the better the team does, then we're not giving away a top 10 pick. Because, I mean, you saw what happened with the Colts when Jacoby Brissett was the starting quarterback prior to the Andrew Luck unexpected announcement of his retirement. Yep. There's a reason Brissett has been a backup quarterback his entire career mostly.
Yeah, I totally agree. So that's what's going to happen with the Browns. But like you mentioned, Atlanta had an upset quarterback as well, hearing that he was his team was wanting to get Deshaun Watson.
Go in a different direction. Yeah, Matt Ryan. But his team, the front office and the owner actually talked to him before they engaged in talks with Watson, and they decided to move on from him. And so he's going to go down to be the 5th starting quarterback for the Frank Reich regime down in Indy, which I think is a great landing spot for him. And based on the quarterbacks that they could have probably acquired, with their limited resources. I think Matt Ryan was probably the best quarterback they could have gotten for their situation because they didn't have the draft capital to probably get Rodgers or Wilson, and they chose not to go after Jimmy Garoppolo.
Totally agree.
Who's still in San Francisco.
I totally agree.
And the Saints and the Falcons fill their quarterback room as well, with Jameis Winston returning to the Saints and Marcus Mariota getting a chance to be a starting quarterback again as he'll take Matt Ryan's spot. But I almost see both of those quarterbacks just being placeholders.
Yeah, there's no good quarterback. There's no great quarterback in the draft this year. There's nobody you want.
Yeah, if you draft a quarterback, I think that there will be a quarterback picked in the top 10, but theoretically, I don't think any of the quarterbacks would be a top 10 pick.
If it was any other year, would any of these guys, if it was last year, would any of these guys be first round picks?
No. If these same quarterbacks were in the draft last year, they would not have been first round draft picks.
They wouldn't have been first round, let alone top 10. But you're going to see it. I agree. I think a team's going to go reach. They're going to go get them. I don't agree with it, but sometimes you feel like you got to get your quarterback. I don't think anybody's getting their quarterback this year. I don't think you should pick up any of these quarterbacks. I think maybe late first round at best, but I would probably wait till second or third round for any of the quarterbacks on the board this year. That's me. But we're not in our we're not ready to do our big board yet. We don't do a big board, but we're not ready for that discussion yet. We'll get there in a couple of weeks when it's time for that. Panthers.
So a quarterback a quarterback everybody thought would be dealt. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
He's still in San Francisco.
I think
Granted,
go ahead.
He's going to be recovering from a shoulder injury that he suffered in the playoffs, though.
Yeah, but I think that says more about, is it Trey
Lance?
Or Trey Lance? I think that says more about Trey Lance than it says about Jimmy G, which is a scary thought. Does that mean that the Niners don't think Trey Lance is either ready or their future?
I still think they believe in Trey Lance. They gave up a lot of draft picks to trade up and get him. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they're hanging on to Jimmy G. Maybe they didn't get any picks. Maybe they didn't get the right offer, or maybe you see what happens around the trade deadline, and that's when he gets dealt instead.
My honest answer is quarterback value goes up as you get closer to the start of the year. That's number one. But number two, I think one of the smartest guys in the NFL is your head coach out there in San Francisco. When it comes to football understanding and knowledge, Kyle Shanahan is one of the greatest minds in the NFL right now. And because of that, he knows that just sitting 1 year isn't enough. You gotta develop a guy, and that's what I think he's doing. He's preparing to develop Trey Lance this year. He's gonna take it in, and he's gonna use Jimmy G as that guy. So the next biggest news to come out of the NFL in a month: Tyreek Hill no longer a Kansas City Chief.
Yeah, they get 5 draft picks for him, Mike. 5. A 22 first round pick. The second round, 20 picks in 22. First and second round picks in 22 from Miami. A 4th round pick in 22, plus 4th and 6th round picks in 23. And then Tyreek Hill gets a 4-year, $120 million extension, including $72.2 million guaranteed and a $52 million at signing to go to Miami.
who's going to throw a ball deep enough that it actually makes it worth getting Tyreek Hill? Like, Tyreek Hill runs fast enough. You got to be able to throw 20 yards at least. 30 yards probably. And occasionally you're going to have to be able to throw it 50 yards. Is Tua Tagovailoa going to be able to do that, Rich?
I don't know. But if anything, this acquisition is allowing them to see, is Tua Tagovailoa our quarterback of the future? Or do we need to start looking for somebody else next year?
How do you go?
At least giving him, they're at least putting him into a situation to succeed.
But how do you say he's not our quarterback of the future when you just mortgaged your entire future?
They would still have their first round pick next year to draft a replacement if needed.
They mortgaged their future okay, so you get your first round. You get your first 3 rounds next year?
Yeah.
Okay. If you're not one of the top 10, you don't have enough to trade with next year. I think it's done. I think that Miami got taken to the cleaners. I think it was a bad move on their part. I think Kansas City is sitting here like, okay, we don't need Tyreek Hill. We can do this with anybody. And they're going to prove it. They still have the number 1 rated quarterback in the league right now. They still have the number 1 rated tight end in the league. Who was it that they picked up yesterday?
They also signed. They have Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, Felicia. Tyreek's great. He's the fastest man in the NFL. You don't need the fastest man in the NFL when you got somebody like Patrick Mahomes that extends plays and allows his guys to get places where nobody can get to. And he puts the ball in ways. Yeah, I don't think that's a big deal. I think Miami got taken to town. This is going to help Kansas City continue to rebuild or continue to be able to put wide receivers, put offensive linemen. This is taking the money that they're spending on Patrick Mahomes, giving him $500 million, and saying, hey, we got enough draft picks. We can at least guarantee you 5 more years of great receivers and linemen and other position players. We're not breaking the bank because we don't need to because we have all these draft picks.
Yeah, for me, Mike, I want to see what Kansas City does to replace Tyreek Hill.
Juju Smith-Schuster's a good answer. And
I want to see who they choose to pick up in the draft, or see what their offense does look like without Tyreek Hill. I mean, I was always from a fantasy
Marquez Scantling?
Valdez Scantling, yeah.
How about that? That's a pretty darn good pickup there, isn't it?
It is. It's a solid pickup. I still want to see what this offense looks like. I mean, because Travis Kelce was allowed to get open looks over the middle because defenses had to account for what Tyreek Hill brought to that offense.
Okay, what are they going to... You're telling me that they don't have to worry about Scantling, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Travis Kelce? One of those guys is going to be open every play.
I'm still in wait and see mode for the Chiefs. I still think Mahomes is the best quarterback, even losing Hill.
Okay.
But and Kelsey's still the best tight end. But maybe they don't have. It's not a shoo-in that they're going to win the division, with as much as the West does improve because of that. because of that addition.
Okay, I give you 20 points for that one. The rest of the division has become immensely greater. Immensely greater.
And they lost probably the best. Now they no longer have the best receiver in that division as Devontae Adams.
Yeah,
but
you're
I think
right.
You probably could have made the statement that Hill wasn't the best receiver in the division once the Raiders got Devontae Adams anyway.
Right.
From the Dolphins, I think they gave up too much to get him, and they probably overpaid for him. But if anybody could scheme up plays for a guy with that much speed like Tyreek Hill, it'd be Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
Look what he did. Look what they did with Deebo Samuel last year, turning a wide receiver into kind of like a hybrid running back guy. So yeah, I could see Tyreek Hill still having a good year. Maybe not putting up as big as stats. They're probably going to be they're really probably going to be relying on him for yards after the catch.
Yeah, it's
a lot more rather than a throw it 50 yards downfield to see if he can get it.
You also have to have somebody that has an arm that can, and understanding of the game to predict where he's going to be with that speed. And that's going to take a lot. That's going to take a lot of work for Tua Tagovailoa. I think he has the skills. I totally think he can be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think he deserves to be. I think, though, the problem is he's going to have to figure out how to throw to the fastest man in the NFL right now. Okay. Wah, 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 wah. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. If you haven't figured out by now, we're getting ready to talk about The Masked Singer. If you don't want to know what happened on Wednesday's episode, it was a pleasure tickling your eardrums and providing you with the insight that Rich and I gave you. Now we're going to talk about The Masked Singer. We are going to talk about who got kicked off. We are going to talk about who went through, and we are going to share who was under the mask. One final chance. Spoiler alert. Rich, what did you think of the episode?
I thought it was a good episode.
Yeah. I think there was a clear person to leave, and they had to have two people leave this week. There was one clear person that needed to leave, and they left. So that's good.
Yeah, the Cyclops.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he did have the weaker when you're comparing the three that made it to that group final, as they were calling it.
Yep.
Probably the Cyclops out of those three probably had the weaker performances when you take their entire body of work.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And the Cyclops was Jorge Garcia.
Yeah. He did fine. He was your pseudo comic relief. I thought. I actually thought it was. I thought it was Jeff Foxworthy. I thought there was enough Southern twang in what he did that I thought it was going to be Jeff Foxworthy.
Yeah, I did have to chuckle though. I'm surprised that they didn't try and work it into the clue package. But as soon as he took off the mask, Amy yelled, "The Blitz!"
Oh, yeah, that would have been good.
Because he was the Blitz on How I Met Your Mother. But they chose to
man.
focus more on Boss. Oh, man. Yep, that's exactly what she said when he took off the mask.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and he was the weakest singer of those that were left in this pairing.
Exactly, and his final performance didn't put him over the top or kind of close that gap.
Nope. Of the night, who had the best performances of the night?
If we're only talking about that one night, probably the Firefly.
Right, and you know what, Rich? I don't know how they taped the show. I don't know it. Don't care. Whatever. If it is a new studio audience every week, I understand why the Firefly could go on, which she did. if it's a new studio audience every week. Now, if it was based on only the judges' votes, I think it should have gone to Thingamabob.
I agree.
But
I mean, but granted,
of the night,
the night that he performed, that night, I think that was his weakest performance out of the three.
I can agree with that.
He kind of maybe peaked too early with
did.
his first 2 weeks.
I
think if he would have performed the Ed Sheeran song this week based off of the reaction that he got from the panel and how well that he did with that song, maybe he's still in the competition.
Yeah, I was on the right path. My prediction pre-unmasking was Terrell Owens.
Terrell Owens.
I thought there was a sulfurness to that voice, especially the first two performances. Did you have any predictions pre-unmasking?
I really didn't.
Okay.
I really didn't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I almost liked the putting out there of Michael Strahan, or one of like I think somebody else put out there. There's another football player, J.J. Watt. That made a lot of sense.
Yep.
Putting the clues together, the way the way that he came into it.
Yep.
Was a good way to go, J.J. Watt or even Michael Strahan. But he had a great clue package.
He really did.
As well.
He really did.
Talking about offensive tackle box. I'm an offensive tackle.
Yep.
And going, the Bulldog was a reference to him being a rugby player before coming to the NFL.
Yeah. And finally there was a kangaroo, because he's from down under.
Yeah. American Samoa.
Yeah. Well,
he's Samoan.
He's Samoan. He's Samoan by genetic, but he grew up in Australia. So, you want to tell everybody?
I don't. I'm trying to look up his actual name. I don't remember. He's the starting left tackle of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Jordan Malata? Right?
Yeah, Jason Malata.
Jordan
Malata. He was great.
He did great.
Much like the Thingamajig did with Victor Oladipo, like coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Having great performances, just coming up and getting into the wrong group.
Yeah, if it wouldn't have been for how well and how composed the Firefly was this week compared to other weeks, yeah, he would have won.
I at least was glad to see that whether it was manufactured by her or genuinely, I can't do this. You need to get this mask off of me so I can breathe and be myself, and then put it back on me and I'll go back on stage. Whether that's legitimately that she needs that time away from that mask because she can't perform or execute and play the game. So at least I was glad to see that didn't happen for the third straight night that she was there on the show.
Yep.
It's because I was almost expecting her, you know what, if you don't want to be on the show, why not unmask yourself, or just say, all right, whether it's Nick Cannon coming over, getting in the earbud saying, all right, I've just been informed that the Firefly is going to take one for the team and agree to leave the show.
Yeah,
and she kind of explains why she made that decision when she gets unmasked.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it.
I don't blame her for not. I think it was fine. I think she did a good. I think she had a great performance. I think she did, according to this week's performance, she deserved to go on. So, okay, Rich. Any shout outs before we end the show?
My grandma had a birthday this week, Thursday. Yeah, Grandma Arliss, 92 years young.
Wow.
Still going.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, we got to spend Thursday with her, go and see her in the nursing home, give her a birthday cake, spend a little bit of time with her. And so, yeah, happy birthday, Grandma.
We have one reaction shout out.
Ooh.
We have two, actually. Sue Hart hearted it, and Solomon Stroop liked the video. So, folks, if you would like to be a part of the show and you want to hear your name on here, come watch us on Facebook. If you are watching us on Facebook and you just want to listen to us on your drive to and from work, check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Rich, they're listening to us, they want to see us, but they hate Facebook. What should they do?
Look us up on the YouTube. And as I said earlier in the show, wherever you listen to us, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
That's it.
You can be notified when our episodes are posted.
And let's roll the outro. Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa, this is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich.